In this episode, are you happy without your smartphone? Well, 75% of US teens believe that, and we talk about it.
And on the flip side, we tell you what our menu would be if we were in charge of the famous Masters dinner. Would you give a stranger a ride to their work? And no matter how cool tax evasion sounds, please make sure you do your taxes. Mike, hit the music.
And welcome back to another episode of the Funny Business Podcast. Trying to prevent myself from starting off on a high note with a nice little ditty or a nice little number of singing, because I feel like Matt and I have been in a singing mood. But let me tell you, if you live on the East Coast, and preferably the northeast of the coast, it's starting to be cold again. So it's starting to retract from those famous cargo shorts to those booty shorts. On a Tuesday night, hella ass, you know what I mean? It's time to wrap ourselves up in a blanket and just be nice and cozy for another episode of the Funny Business Podcast. Matt, how are you? How are things?
I didn't have you saying hella ass on the podcast bingo card today, but I'm great. I don't know why you're just covering yourself with the sheet. If you're not watching on YouTube, it's really bad start to the episode, but that's fine. But I'm great. It's the first day of spring today as we're recording, so that's exciting. I am going to get my free Ritas after we finish recording here.
Is it free Ritas?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Ice. If you get like custard or stuff, you got to pay.
Yeah.
But yeah, free Ritas. Yeah. It's an exciting time as always. Yeah. Anything on your mind to start?
Well, when it was being made fun of with the whole blanket thing, what came to mind, because I saw the frame of the camera, is how owners of dogs will like pull up like a blanket sheet in like a doorway and then they'll like drop it and they'll run, and the dog was trying to like find their way out. Kind of looks like this when I pull it up and then
yeah, we'll go with that.
But what comes to mind? Well, fun week. I'm off this week.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm taking some time to reset, recalibrate for the new adventure that I'm about to partake on. I've done a lot of cleaning. I did some laundry. I've started a book. Not like writing my own book. I've started reading a book.
Oh.
And yeah, I mean, that's what comes to mind right now. I don't know about you, Matt. What comes to mind for you?
Not much. Did I ever tell you when I was in like middle school or high school, I had thought like I was going to write my own book. I think I wrote like 2 pages, and then I just stopped. I was like, no, I don't. Oh. I don't want to read this, so no one else is going to want to read this. was basically a logic. I think it was some like basketball, like it was the son of a former player. I couldn't even tell you what player it was. I probably never would have even had permission to use this player's name. Yeah, it's that was a wild time.
I've brought this up on the podcast, but I actually in 3rd grade had to write a book, and like you had to like color in pages and all that on a whale shark, and I give facts about a whale shark. So
that's cool.
Yeah. And as I've said before, I was able to read it. Parents were invited, so my mom was there, and she bought the first video camera that I got to use back in 3rd grade. So she was recording me doing my video presentation, and I just fell in love with it ever since. So
in high school, we had to make like a poetry book, and I don't know what kind of poetry it was. I don't think it's like slam poetry, but I basically did like I'm making fun of the Eagles fly. It was called Die Eagles Die. It was awesome.
Surprised they let you run with that of like threatening, our state bird.
I'm pretty sure I performed it in front of the class too. Yeah, this is the best part. And obviously, I'm talking about the football teams. I don't want to kill the bald eagles.
Did you have like choreography to it, or did you just present it up there?
I mean, I had background dancers, yeah, but that was
nice.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah. I was not expecting that. What's on your mind? Oh, you remember back in middle school?
Can you imagine if life just had backup dancers?
That or narration.
So that's like a Will Ferrell movie. What the hell? Stranger Than Fiction, I think so. Yeah, he just walks around, he was a narrator's voice. That'd be kind of annoying, I think.
I've said before, I had Morgan Freeman narrating my everyday move. I think I'd get used to it.
Yeah, but what if Morgan Freeman doesn't like you? And then he just like makes fun of you while he's narrating you.
I would feel like narration is an unbiased journalistic perspective where you have to talk about what is actually happening rather than try to add your own bias to it.
I don't know. I think in the movie Stranger Than Fiction, I think Will Ferrell didn't like his narrator's voice for a little while.
I think Helen Mirren was Barbie's narrator.
I don't know who that is.
Okay. The person who was narrating the movie. She, of course, was giving a biased perspective for the narration, but of course it had to add some humor to it. So
it'd be funny if like you went for like a snack at like 9:30 at night. It's like, oh really? You want the bag of chips?
Are you sure you really want to be on your phone? Stop it! You're supposed to be narrating what I'm doing, not forcing me to do things.
And he's opening the fridge for the 5th time today. Gosh. It's only 1 p.m.
I don't want to be doing laundry.
Yeah, that's a lot of toilet paper you're using right there.
Wet wipes.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. Well, let's be a little serious today.
Okay.
Let's add some, let's just say some phenomenological research behind this, or as you say, a lived experience. As we all know, Matt and I are part of, well, technically you're not a part of the millennial generation, or was it 96? I think we've talked about this before. I think I'm somewhere in the middle. Like sometimes I think 96 is like, can be both. So I don't really want to associate myself with any one of those generations, to be honest. Oh, you count.
Well, who am
I? You're a millennial.
Is that good or bad?
I mean, I'm a millennial.
All right.
Oh, so just because I'm a millennial.
No, I didn't say that.
I don't know.
That's not what I said. I just said all right.
I heard the narration. Matt said to himself, boy, I don't want to be with this guy.
Yeah, I'm finally tired of you after 205 episodes.
Yeah. Technically, we've had more episodes that just weren't recorded because we were roommates. Anyway,
true.
So as millennials, we have experienced a world without cell phones, or shall I say without smartphones. And of course, we are now in the present where there are smartphones and there are cell phones everywhere. I feel like constantly you find research, or the Pew Research Center specifically, speaking about a research study that X amount of percent of people do this or X amount of percent of people do that. So today, not sure why I decided to take this route in the first half of the show, but I feel like Matt and I have some pretty good opinions. This is truly funny business science in its purest form. But with Barbara Orchute, sorry, Barb, if I mispronounced that last name, from the Associated Press, the title of today's article we'll be discussing is that most teens report feeling happy or peaceful when they go without smartphones. And this was conducted by the Pew Research Center, and it says that 75% of U.S. teens feel happy or peaceful when they don't have their phones with them. Now, Matt, I'm going to stop there on the first point and kind of wanted to hear your feedback. We've talked about silent walking before in the past.
Yes.
Does that feel a need for a follow-up discussion on it, or do you have other thoughts?
It makes sense. It makes sense. I mean, I think everybody sees a lot of negativity online, and that's how we access online, is mostly through our phones. So
agreeing with you, because the follow-up to this was, despite positive associations with going phone-free, most teens have not limited their phone or social media use, as indicated by the Pew survey. Also, some statistics. Policymakers and children's advocates are increasingly concerned with teens' relationships with their phones and social media, with lawsuits filed against platforms like Instagram and Facebook for contributing to the youth mental health crisis. We always love a good CEO or founder sitting in the Congress's, sitting in the Capitol building while Congress is, quote, grilling them on how to use social media. But most teens believe that smartphones make it easier to be creative, pursue hobbies, and perform well in school, with 45% stating it helps them in academics. Thoughts on that?
That makes sense, because it is basically like an encyclopedia. You can just use and pull up and find an answer in probably less than a minute. So it can be helpful. Obviously, there's distractions to it, but if you're using your phone for educational purposes, yeah, it can be a big tool.
Let's take a step back. We talked about middle school. I'm not sure if we ever mentioned this. When did you get your first cell phone?
Cell phone or smartphone?
When did you have access to calling somebody without being home?
9th grade.
9th grade?
No, 7th grade.
7th grade.
7th grade. Yeah, I had a flip phone. And then what about you?
I had 7th grade. It was a flip phone myself.
When did you get your first smartphone?
First smartphone was I was going to say freshman year, but I think it might be early sophomore year.
I got my first smartphone 2 months before I graduated high school.
Did you?
Yeah, it was literally, I think, my birthday of my senior year of high school, which, as everybody knows, and Mike included, my birthday's coming up. So we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary of me having a smartphone. That's wild. Yeah, everybody else had phones, and I just kind of like used to sit at lunch and be like, oh, I got a flip phone. That was harsh. But I'm kind of glad because, like, yeah, I guess I'm glad I didn't have a smartphone that early because, like I said before, and Mike, you know this, I didn't get social media until college.
Yep.
So maybe I missed out on some of that stuff, but did I really need it? Probably not.
I definitely had to use a phone to communicate when I was going home on the bus, the activity bus for soccer practice. So that was kind of the first, I don't want to say notification, but the first realization that I needed some form of communication device. I think fun fact, I started with Android as far as smartphones because I think around the time iPhones were still in that phase, and this is probably where my Apple trivia will be completely wrong. I think Apple was still with certain cell carriers. Like, because if you recall,
that was a thing.
If you recall, the first iPhone, AT&T was the only coverage for the iPhone.
Didn't know that.
I think once it expounded to the cell carrier, I think I actually got it my senior year. I got an iPhone 5C with white background.
I don't remember what my first iPhone was. I don't even remember what my first case was or like color or anything.
Really?
No, I honestly have no idea. And honestly, the only thing that I wish I had this is going to sound dumb, but it's true. The only app I wish I had in high school with a smartphone was Bike Race.
Ooh.
Great game. But by the time I had a smartphone, no one really like played it that much anymore. Like that was the big thing at lunch. Like you like play each other. It was awesome.
Going back to the original percentage that it helps them academically. I think, Matt, you're right. Like people Googling, when it comes to, I really don't see how this is very efficient, but people use it to like reference citations or scholarly articles. I kid you not, like the efficiency today, and I know this is another we're so old comment, but like the efficiency of a teenager, I'm going to keep a teenager utilizing a cell phone goes far beyond what we even did back in the day when we got our first quote smartphones. Like it is intense. And sometimes you see that divide because one of the TikTok influencers, I'm losing his name. He always loves to like talk in a mirror and like be very like descriptive. Tells you to come here. I'm gonna look him up as we do it.
Oh, that's the food guy.
Yes, Trey.
Yeah.
Trey?
No, I don't know. He's got the fast food. Yeah, secrets.
Fast food recipes.
Yes. Yeah, I love that guy.
But there's a difference between a millennial Zoom and a Gen Z Zoom. Did you know about that?
No.
A millennial Zoom is like, I don't want to call it like a smooth zoom, but like you see the camera move in, whereas like a Gen Z Zoom, they press a button and it automatically gets closer. Like it's a click away. It's interesting. But again, even just that, like having that difference is really cool. I'm trying to find his name.
I still don't think I use my phone to like its full potential. I don't know if everyone or anyone really does. But it is kind of crazy to think like the younger generation does use it for like totally different reasons than us. Mm-hmm. And like I think another way that it helps with education, like if you don't know how to spell a word, you just search it and it pops up for you.
I sometimes like to go into like a notes app and I'll say like required. I know how to spell that word. Like it spells it out for me.
How often do you use Siri? I don't use Siri like at all.
Why?
I don't. What am I gonna? What do you use Siri for? Let me ask you that.
I use Siri, and no, this is not me being dangerous, but you are default to use Siri when you're in your car.
All right, so I guess I use it with CarPlay, but I mean like when you're holding your phone, do you use Siri?
Yeah. Anyway, his name's Jordan the Stallion.
There it is. Yes.
Jordan. So there's a couple things I haven't used it that often, but I have what's called a Siri to Notion tasks. So what I'll do is it's a voice recording. It's like through the automations app or shortcuts app. I apologize. So like I can say something as if I'm like remind me at such and such time to do the dishes. And what it will do is it will be processed, and using ChatGPT, it'll be sent to my Notion in a more clean and organized way for that. Sometimes I'll just do a quick call. Like instead of going through contacts or all that, I'll just be like, call Matt. I think usually sometimes silly, like Matt, Dad will always ask the Yankees. Anybody know who won the Yankees? Did the Yankees win?
See, that's funny. Every time I do those exact things, but I just use my thumbs. Like I don't ever ask Siri. I have a good friend of mine who actually we will talk about later in the show. Reminds himself all the time on his iPhone.
Reminds himself?
Yeah, like gives himself reminders. He'll be like, remind me at 9:00. Remind me at 9:15. Remind me at 9:30. Remind me at 9:45. And that's a true story. He actually did that once for like a full 15 minutes. Set the same reminder for a full hour.
I also use my Siri for my watch too.
No. The text?
No.
Okay, I'll say it to text once in a while.
I'll do it to set timers, like when I'm cooking.
Interesting. I would never would have thought to do that. Again, I would just pull up my phone and set the timer by thumb.
My watch, I think it's the 4th gen. If I raise up and start speaking to it, it'll activate Siri. So like I'll raise it up. It's like set timer for 20 minutes and I'll set a timer. Parents for smartphones or cell phones, I should say.
Okay.
Close to half of parents, 47%, limit their teens' phone usage, while a similar share, 48%, do not. Arguments about phone usage between parents and teens are common, with Hispanic Americans most likely to report frequent arguments about phone use.
Yeah, so I don't, obviously, this is funny business science talking here.
Yes.
I think that conversation needs to happen like very early on in childhood. If you raise an iPad kid, they're obviously going to have struggles not being on their phone. If you limit screen time early on as a young person, like very young, and as they start kindergarten, 1st grade, like make sure they have time away from their phone and technology and just playing with toys, playing outside, playing sport, reading, whatever. As they get older, I would imagine they won't be as attached to their phones, and it'll be easier to say like, hey, you've been on your phone a while, take a break.
I have sort of a counter to that conversation.
Okay.
I think we in the future, late future, as parents, will be better equipped to teaching our future children best practices in using your phone compared to the current generation of parents who are trying to navigate this change because they didn't grow up with a cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like trying to tell them how to navigate life without them having to experience it themselves.
That's a good point. Can I counter your counter?
Oh, counter my counter, and I'll counter your counter.
Nowadays, like kids in school, like high school, like use iPads for everything. So they're kind of used to using technology all the time. So maybe they don't know the best practices how to not use technology.
I think based on the survey, though, it says 75% of U.S. teens feel happy or peaceful when they don't have their phones with them.
So is that because they're using it so much they appreciate the break?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We're going to go with that. That's funny business science. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's more of an addendum to a counter.
I'm not going to lie. In high school, I hated using like Chromebooks.
Well, Chromebooks are awful to begin with.
Well, yeah, but like, did you? I think we had this conversation before. Did you ever check your high school email?
I did not have one.
Really? We actually had high school emails.
Yeah.
Never checked it once. I could have gotten like some assignment from a teacher, never would have known.
I'm happy they're doing it much earlier in high school, simply because dealing with college students as a full-time employee, and this just goes from past experiences, it is better that you at least have an email accessible to you that is worth monitoring and establishing those practices from there.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I do think it's a good habit to get into. But there's a lot of stuff they should teach you in high school that they don't. So
yeah, I think we were the last senior class to graduate, and then everybody got emails after that. Continuing on, parents of younger teens, so 13 to 14 years old with these teens, are more likely to monitor their teens' smartphone activity compared to the parents of older teens 15 to 17 years old.
Makes sense.
42% of teens believe smartphones make learning good social skills harder, while 30% think it makes it easier.
I would imagine it makes it harder because, I don't know, that's a lot of science and stuff that I don't know.
It's beyond my funny business science purview.
Yeah, that's beyond our knowledge and our database. But I would assume it makes it harder just because like you're kind of talking less to people.
I mean, looking at it, let's just say like a Zoom call. I remember how many research articles were coming out because of the pandemic. and how, Zoom calls were like depreciating social skill. And like, because of not the reaction time, but the response time is much different than when talking in person. Like, there was so many things that were going out. And I think social skills, like knowing what to do when you meet somebody for the first time, or, what things to talk about. Like, I think once you get, I will say it, but I will probably be wrong because I'm thinking of there's more scenarios, but they are coming to my head quickly, is like after you handshake the person and you talk, like you can have those social skills both on a cell phone, but then in person.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can talk back and forth certain skills, like certain social settings, like silly small talk, like wonderful weather we're having, or like, how's the house, or how's work going? Or like you have these different dynamics that you can apply it to a smartphone. But I think active listening, like you can't do that on a smartphone. You also can't maintain eye contact on a smartphone, even if it's in a Zoom call. Like we're constantly, Matt, you and I are both recording every week, and I think constantly we are looking at our own cameras to make sure that we're either centered in frame or looking half as decent.
Yeah, half the time I'm looking at myself, the other half I'm staring deep into your eyes.
Okay. That's very good to hear, and I'll have to be more mindful of that as I move on to doing more podcasting with you. And then lastly, around half of parents admit to spending too much time on their phones, with higher income and white parents more likely to report this behavior.
I guess that makes sense. I guess maybe it's a way for parents to kind of like, this is also weird, but like sometimes, and I do this myself, use my phone to like decompress, just to like take myself away from a busy time or a rough day at work, whatever it may be, rough day on the golf course, and just kind of like, I hate using the term like catch up on social media, because like you shouldn't have to catch up on social media, but it is a way to kind of decompress, and sometimes that's just what people have to do.
My parents, I had the opportunity to be with my parents this past weekend, and they cut the cord.
Nice, my parents did too.
Well, they cut the cord, but they really don't have a second option to work with. They have Hulu, but like the internet is crap up there. They're like, we're on TikTok. Like when we're done, we are on TikTok. And then my dad was like, well, if they ban TikTok, then I don't know what else we're going to do.
Then we're going to have to talk to each other.
We're going to have to talk to each other. But I think people who say that, teens are always on their smartphones, I think people who are older are just as responsible of being on their cell phones.
Oh, absolutely. And also it's the fact that like, just because you see someone on their phone, that doesn't mean they're always on their phone. Like they could have just spent the last 6 hours doing something completely different.
Yeah.
And now they're just like looking at it or doing something on it. Like just because we're not with them all the time and you see them a few times on their phone, that doesn't mean they're addicted to their phone. Maybe they're just checking something important.
A Love is Blind callback with Kenneth being on his cell phone.
Yes.
There was a comment that I found when I was, in the deep dive with Love is Blind. And somebody commented, if Kenneth is taking away phones from his students as a disciplinary thing, he has no room to talk.
Yes. Yeah. And I get people use their phones for work. However, that conversation was very important. He didn't need to be on his phone.
No.
Oh, there was other context outside of that, but
yeah. Oh my gosh. Everything is just evolving out of that. But that's what came to mind, because there was an administrator that I was aware of that was always on his iPhone. Like you always saw, like when he was walking, it was like hand out in the front, and like he was just walking, and then he was texting the whole time. It's just like, okay. Or he's emailing. I don't know. But
yeah, you never know.
Just a little too much like phone presence within that administrator.
Yeah, I think in general, people would report that they're happier without social media. I think it's definitely good to not take time out of the day to make sure you're not on your phone. Obviously, if you're at work, you shouldn't be on your phone. But like even at home, like you can decompress with your phone, but also make sure you decompress without your phone.
Yep.
And I think it would make social media a lot more enjoyable, a lot less hateful comments. There's also sometimes social media just gets a little too crazy because people have too much time to be on social media. And speaking of social media, sometimes storylines come up and people trend for reasons that if we had less time on the internet, maybe they wouldn't. And this is completely off topic, but I'm just going to bring it up. The Kate Middleton story is just... What are we doing? What? Literally, this story is the epitome of put your phone down.
I almost had it as a topic of conversation last week on the
gosh.
podcast. You're probably like, thank God he did. What's the word?
I can't get into that storyline. I just can't.
I know how much you love the royal family.
I also just don't
with.
like the royal family to begin with. So it's a double whammy. You know, it's really just like jabbing right at me.
Personally, I only saw the context because of somebody who uses Photoshop quite frequently. Was just curious to see how that all unfolded. Mm-hmm. You know, and now obviously like my TikTok feed is like, it's either that King Charles has died or Kate Middleton has died. We don't know which. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
It is times like these where I do kind of sympathize with the old man. That's just like, they need to shut off the internet. Yeah. It's like, maybe he's got a point.
No, I agree, Matt, because I think once you get, it's a rabbit hole. Once you dig too deep in the rabbit hole, there's no way of you to get out, and then you're conspiring with other things, and it just becomes messy. So
yeah, it's terrible.
It's just good to sometimes just to put the phone down and just let it be.
Yes, let it be, let it be,
let it be.
Speaking words of wisdom.
Let it be.
We wanted to share something that has become essential to those days after a long, exhausting night: Liquid IV's Hydration Multiplier.
It's amazing how huge a difference it makes. Liquid IV helps us feel more energized and refreshed throughout the day. With one stick, you get 5 essential vitamins and a 2 times faster hydration formula than plain water.
We both love the flavors. Yuzu pineapple and passion fruit are our top picks. They make staying hydrated a truly enjoyable experience.
What's even better is that Liquid IV is committed to giving back to communities in need worldwide by providing clean and abundant water. They've already donated over 39 servings in 50 plus countries around the world.
And we have a special treat if you want to try Liquid IV. Head over to liquidiv.com and use the code FUNNYBUSINESS at checkout to get a 20% discount on your entire purchase.
So shop better hydration today with promo code FUNNYBUSINESS. All one word, FUNNYBUSINESS at liquidiv.com at checkout.
Remember to stay hydrated and healthy and give Liquid IV a try. It's worth it. We're going to slide on in second half of the show. We have 2 segments today. We usually do last both times. So we're going to start with Take It. Yeah. We Mike for a loop there. You thought I was going to say the other one, didn't you?
I'm so excited for this.
Yeah, so we're going to have 2 Take It's today. So let's do the first one so we have something a little planned for the second Take It. So I was on the phone last week with my good friend Aaron. Shout out Aaron. Yes. Big fan of the pod, by the way.
Friend of the pod.
Big fan of the pod. He was driving to Rhode Island. So we were just calling to chat about a lot of stuff. And while he's driving on the highway, he almost died. A tractor trailer was in the left-hand lane trying to merge in the right lane, and he was like stuck in the middle and basically almost ran him off the road and like off like the side of the highway.
That's terrifying.
So it was terrifying, and he's like cursing the guy out and like kind of freaking out on the phone. I'm like, Aaron, are you okay? And he's like, yeah. But then we had an interesting conversation, Mike. If he would have gotten into a car accident, what would I have done?
Oh.
Because, so here's my thought process, and we can talk about maybe the right way to go about this. I'm on the phone with him.
Yep.
I hear a crash, bang, and a boom. If he doesn't respond, what do I do? Because there's a few things. One, I don't know where he is.
Okay.
I didn't know what road he was on or like mile markage or anything. 2, I would want to alert the authorities like, hey, I was on the phone with someone that just got a car accident. But 3, I also want to stay on the line to see if he's okay. So what would I have done in that scenario?
Well, let's call 911 right now and see what.
Nope. Disavow. Hold on. I disavow Frank calling 911. Let's put that out there.
I feel like in the reality, if you did call 911, they'd be able to direct you appropriately.
But how? I'm on the phone with my buddy on a car accident. Where is he? I don't know.
So
he's on the highway.
Did you knew what state he was in?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
yeah. I believe his license plate is a different state.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't even know. maybe I'm a bad friend. I don't know what kind of car he drives.
So I think here's where my thought process would go. You would call, my assumption is call the non-emergency line. Again, this is not advice, everybody.
No,
this is,
we're trying to throw out ideas. This is not, do not take our advice literally.
Poor somebody's gonna get in an accident. They're like, well, I heard on the Funny Business podcast, you gotta call the non-emergency line. So my thoughts is calling the non-emergency line, even though it is technically an emergency.
Right.
As you're doing that, you notify family if you can.
Don't.
If
I can't.
applicable.
No, I know none of his family or friends.
Find that Facebook mom, dad, whoever it may be, brother, sister, DM them. Be like, hey, I was just on the phone with your son. Mm-hmm. Or brother, sister, whatever. Sounds like he got into an accident. I'm trying to confirm it, but if anybody has his location, because that's very frequent now.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Help me out here. So my assumption is, depending on where it is, on a traffic monitor, and hopefully by saying that, that's probably what tuning out everybody being like, okay, this is truly not advice. There's I don't want to say call sheet, but when somebody makes a report, that comes on the call sheet. So the 911 comm center will report a structure fire on 123 ABC Drive. So I think in any way, if it's like, okay, tractor trailer crash to car on Interstate 66. I know I'm throwing out a bunch of stuff. That could connect the two. But more so, which I think is the really rough and sad part, everything probably happens after the authorities go to the accident scene, crime scene, such and such.
Yeah, that was my whole thought. Like, the social media thing was a good idea. But all of this is probably just way too late, and it's someone there is going to call 911.
Right.
Yeah. But like in the moment, like we had a deep conversation. I was like, Aaron, I love you, but I don't know. I don't think I would have been able to do anything. Mm-hmm. Because you're definitely freaking out.
I also have an additional thought.
Yeah.
Did he tell somebody he was leaving?
Yes, but that's a story for off the podcast.
Oh, okay. Because usually, and I'm worse at this, but Jenna will let me know. Jenna will let me know when she's heading home from work.
Yes. Yeah. That's a good thing to do if you have like a significant other or just you live with someone, or if you're making a road trip, tell someone, hey, I'm heading on the road. That's good advice.
Mm-hmm. Even when she's like traveling, or, back in the day when we were an hour and a half from each other, if she's like heading to her parents, like, although she would not be responsible, again, being on the phone again, although she would not feel obligated to text me while she was at her parents' house, she would at least let me know that she got there. The other thing too is for reasons beyond explanation, I have Jenna's location. Mm-hmm. So I am able to, in case something does happen, or in case it seems longer than usual, I am able to check, but that's the only time I ever do, because that's probably the only time it's like, okay, where is she on the road? Right. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of my other thought is like, did he tell somebody he's leaving? That's fine. You don't have to include it. That's Aaron's privacy.
No, I know. It's just, I know the story, and it's yeah. But so April had the idea that I could have put him on hold and then called 911, but that still defeats the purpose because I don't know where the accident is.
I think she's watched too many drama and TV shows where like they route where the cell phone is and location of where the phone was called.
That's another thought I have. Should I start watching like NCIS? Would I have had that answer?
No.
I don't know.
I don't think it works that way.
Or could I just pull up WebMD and they can tell me?
Like he's not responding. Oh, just pull up WebMD.
Actually, let's go to Google. What do you do if your friend gets in a car accident while you're on the phone with them?
Wait, go to Google and you are speaking to them?
Well, I was just holding it like I was holding.
Were you using Siri, man?
In that scenario, yes, I was using Siri. Yeah, that's a good
callback.
Yes, yeah, but thankfully he was not in a car accident, and wasn't in that scenario.
I'm very happy he made it to his destination safely.
Yes,
which is always a good reminder to let somebody know that you're heading, especially for a very long trip, to let somebody know that you're on your way. Or I'm on my way. Oh.
Also, getting run off the road by a tractor trailer has to be everyone's biggest fear on a road trip.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Top 5, top 3.
I had a cushion in the middle of the highway on our way back home from celebrating my parents' birthday this past weekend. Like literally in the middle in the right lane.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Like kind of one of those like outdoor like seat cushions that like you could lean back, like kind of like what you do on like poolside. Yeah, just right in the middle of the road.
Nice. One time when I was in like 3rd grade, we went to Disney World.
You drive in 3rd grade?
Nope. But we rented a car. We were on the highway. It was later at night, I think, and cars kept like swerving in and out of the lane. We're like, oh my god, there must have been an accident. It was a washing machine in the middle of the highway, just sitting in the middle of the lane.
Oh my god.
Just a washing machine.
What?
Yeah, it was nuts.
What?
I don't think anyone hit it. The second part to take it. So we are approaching the Masters. We are about 3 weeks away. Yeah, about 3 weeks away from the Masters. However, today we got some news of John Rahm, last year's Masters champion. A fun Masters tradition is whoever wins the Masters gets to pick next year's champions dinner. This depicts the whole menu. It's a very exclusive dinner. I believe it's only like previous Masters winners and a few other people that get invited to this dinner. I don't know. I don't know if players that are playing in tournament get invited or something. So he announced his menu. It was a big deal. Everybody kind of makes a big deal about it. On his menu, he's got some appetizers, like a chorizo, potato, something. Mama Ram's classic lentil stew. That has to be. I wonder if his mom is actually making that, though.
That'd be fantastic.
That'd be awesome. A crab salad. And then for the main course, he's got a ribeye and turbot? Is that a fish? I don't know what that is.
When Matt sent me this menu, you always know that, not saying you're royally screwed, but when it is in a different language, you know that like this is probably going to be really, really good.
Yeah, because he is Spanish. Yeah. He's from Spain, I believe.
Mm.
So Mike and I are going to give our suggestions on if we were able to pick the Masters dinner, what would we choose? So we have some appetizers, entrees, desserts. I have a first course. You want to go first, or do you want me to go first? How do you want to go about this?
Can we break it up by, so I have an appetizer, a first course, main course, and a dessert.
Okay, that's what I got. That's great.
Okay.
So we'll do appetizers first.
Yep.
All right. What do you have for your appetizers?
So I have 2 options.
Okay.
So I took this from his Masters dinner. This looks like a 3rd grader put it together.
Yeah, it kind of.
So for an appetizer, I have 2 choices. The first one, pretty obvious. Chips with a choice of salsa or queso.
No guacamole.
No guac.
Ooh, interesting.
No.
You're going to get a lot of people mad about that.
It's my dinner. So didn't really get specific on the chips or the choice. I mean, if Moe's wants to bring in their queso, like totally fine by that. But yeah, that's one of the appetizers. The second one, I've been on a huge calamari kick. So I decided to go with fried calamari with a spicy marinara. For some reason, I don't know why. Again, just been on a kick. Anytime there's calamari, usually I tend to gravitate towards that. But those are my 2 appetizers to start.
I don't think I've ever had calamari.
Kind of just as like onion rings in a sense.
So is it like fried clam strips?
It's octopus.
I understand, but have you ever had a fried clam strip?
Squid.
Yeah. Have you had a fried clam strip?
No.
Okay. Looks like an onion
You ever
ring.
had a fried pickle?
I don't like pickles.
Oh yeah. Okay. Anyway.
But lots of people like. I'm not kidding. I don't like if I go to Chick-fil-A, I pick the pickles off the sandwich.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. The pickles are gross.
You're like the opposite of flounder.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. All right. I have 3 appetizers.
Ooh.
I have the best appetizer in the game. Well, pigs in a blanket. Everybody loves pigs in a blanket. It's just it's classy, but it's also not. And I'm gonna pair that with a spicy brown mustard.
Okay.
Second, we're gonna go with Southwest egg rolls. They are second to cheesesteak egg rolls, but I wanted to give a little like chicken appetizer option. You don't do like beef or like pork. So Southwest egg rolls, and then a little vegetarian appetizer with a little twist. So lots of people do crab stuffed mushrooms.
Mm.
However, this dinner will feature spinach and artichoke stuffed mushrooms.
Mm.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever had that, but I had the thought in my head, like, that'd be a great combination.
There you go.
Moving on to the first course, I have a chicken Caesar salad.
I a garden salad or upgrade to a Caesar salad.
Okay, I think that's a pretty common first course.
I like wanted it to be fun in like somehow like I wanted like a dressing bar. Like this is me like thinking like it's a third grader. I want a cheese fountain.
It's a giant Caesar salad in between a fountain of ranch.
Julius Caesar, you know I don't follow the NBA.
Actually, let's just go to Ruby Tuesdays and use the salad bar.
But like somehow like incorporate like a unique like keep it limited. Like don't give them the whole the whole buffet, but maybe like a fun way to have like 5 different choices of like dressing. Whether it's like in a golf ball and the golf ball dissolves and then like that's your dressing. Like I don't know, or like you hit the golf ball and like spread that. I don't know.
I also had the thought just now. What if you did like a soup flight?
I thought of soup for a hot minute, but then I was like time of the year.
Well, it could be chili.
Yeah.
Chili.
They're usually this chili.
Oh.
They usually have like these spoons for like hors d'oeuvres. Like typically if it's like something that like you can't really pick with the hands and like put on a spoon, it'd be like your soup flight.
Yeah, I like that. Good Italian wedding.
Oh,
chicken noodle.
Ranch.
Yeah, and ranch. There we go. What do you have? 1 entree, 2 entrees? What do you got?
I have 2. I have a choice of 2.
I also do. You can go first.
So this one might be out of left field, but I was like, I want something fancy. I want something good. And I'm going to have the choice of pardon my pronunciation, but a braciole. Do you not know what that is?
No idea what that is.
Or trying to find the other one. A braciole.
Nope.
So basically what it is, it's thinly sliced Delmonico rolled with cheese and Italian spices and topped with sauce. So basically it's like an Italian burrito, but with steak.
I love that.
Oh.
Yeah, that's great.
I had one when we went to this Italian restaurant when Jen and I were medium distance, probably like the best thing I ever had. One of the best things I ever had at an Italian restaurant. And it was fantastic. The second option is a chicken steak sandwich. So like a hoagie, sort of like a chicken steak cheesesteak. But you have the option to buffalize it.
Ooh, nice.
So it's like you substitute the marinara with a creamy buffalo or blue cheese sauce.
Okay.
Those are my 2 choices.
Yeah, I knew you were going to throw buffalo in there at some point. Yeah. You had to. You just had to. So I have 2 kind of fancy, kind of different.
Okay.
So the first one is a cheesesteak stuffed pepper.
Well, that kind of sounds really good.
So I wanted some sort of like beef, but I wanted something different. And I Googled literally like as you were texting me the link, like ideas. I screenshotted the picture. April and I are going to make these. I'm going to text this to you. Look how good this looks.
It's a cheesesteak stuffed pepper.
Cheesesteak stuff. So like a stuffed pepper?
Yeah. But
it's like a cheesesteak. It looks phenomenal.
I actually make something similar to this.
Do you?
A little bit, but it's not like a cheesesteak.
Yeah.
It's a look up my recipe book.
I'm also going to serve them with smashed potatoes.
Ooh. Oh. Yeah, I really didn't pick my sides here. But Oh, enchilada ground meat and quinoa stuffed bell peppers.
Okay. I don't love quinoa.
Why?
I don't know. I know, but like I'd rather just eat rice. I know quinoa is probably healthier.
You have a thing with round things. You don't like peas. You don't like quinoa.
I love round things. I like meatballs. I have a great story, by the way. A great story about my mother. It kind of fits now. I was going to say it. So my mom and dad, obviously my dad's retired. So they started indulging in for the weekend a little early last Friday with some gin and tonics.
Oh.
And they used a strong gin and they were feeling pretty good. Okay. And so obviously my family's Catholic, so they don't eat meat on Fridays. My mom only eats turkey and chicken just because that's what she does. My mom goes to order dinner. Was like hysterically laughing and like because my dad was like making comments in the background. Somehow orders the dinner and hangs up, and my dad's like, "Wait, what did you order?" So he goes, "I don't know." And he is like, "Well, what's in it?" So he goes, "I don't know." Delivery shows up. She opens her box. She ordered spaghettis and meatballs. It was such a classic story.
It's amazing.
My second entree is going to be a seafood risotto.
Ooh.
scallop, shrimp, crab with asparagus and zucchini. And I just started thinking about the scallop risotto I had in Rehoboth Beach last summer. It was phenomenal. To round it out, what desserts do you have?
I'm specifically having Red Lobster join us for this fantastic evening.
Biscuits aren't dessert.
What's that?
Biscuits aren't dessert.
No biscuit. Could you imagine? Dessert. This was the first time I ever fell in love with a dessert at a restaurant. It's called the chocolate wave, which is the description is layers of decadent chocolate cake and creamy fudge frosting served with vanilla ice cream and rich chocolate sauce. Matt, this thing came out so nice and warm that this chocolate cake is ingrained in my head as, again, the first time I ever enjoyed a dessert at a restaurant.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, that's big.
Because I hated seafood, but then I loved the chocolate wave.
So I have two desserts. Pretty simple. A fruit tart.
A fruit cart.
Fruit tart.
Oh, fruit tart.
Tart.
Oh, the fruit cart would be fun.
Yeah, that would be cool. With a fountain of chocolate and
fruit.
Ranch. And creme brulee.
Ooh,
I love good creme brulee. So good. Now I'm just hungry. Yeah. So let us know whose dinner's better, and we'll finish off the show. Sitting down in the dumps. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, I got two. So, Matt, as you knew, I went to the driving range this past week.
Yes.
Enjoyed my time. Well, was going to enjoy my time, and I had an individual come up to me.
Oh no!
And said, and this curves around into a down in the dumps, but comes up to me and says, "When are you done?" And I said, "I just got here." And I said, "What can I help you with?" And we'll call him John. John said that he needed a ride to work. And I said, "Do you have Uber?" And he said, "No." I said, "Do you have a phone?" He goes, "No, I don't have a phone." I said, "Do you have cash? Do you have a wallet? And he's like, "No." And he's like, and I'm like, "Well, do you have a car?" And he's like, "Well, I only have my permit." And I said, "Can your mom or dad or sibling drive you?" And he goes, "No, my stepmom's car broke down, and I can't make it." And like, mind you, his place of work was like 8 minutes away from the driving range. And so I was like, "Okay." I said, I don't think I can. I'm sorry." And so he walks by and he asked the next few people next to me. They all said no. Gave him more of a cold shoulder than I did. And they walked back. He's like, "Is there any way that you could take me?" I said, "It'd be going out of my way." Because technically it'd actually be going towards back to my workplace, which that was not my intention of going back. And so I was like, "Look, I'm going to get you an Uber." And so I got him an Uber. But, he was saying, he's like, "I'm going to work here at the driving range soon. And if I see you," he's like, "I'll pay you back." I said, "Man," I said, "that's fine." And, I said, "Well, how long you been working at this place?" He's like, "This is only my third shift." And kind of put you in just this mindset of like being at that similar point, when you were starting to make money, or, you really couldn't get from point A to point B. And, it was just very odd how it all came about, because obviously I just ended my job that same day, and then I'm moving on to a better job. And this kid is trying to get his first paycheck and yet cannot make it to work. And it's a little down in the dumps for that, but he made it, I think. I was monitoring the hell out of the Uber drive on my phone. But you got to take a step back and realize how lucky we are as a group sometimes, because we are able to get from point A to point B. We are able to buy things. We are able to eat. And there's people that are just trying to make an honest living behind that. So
what was he doing at the driving range if he had to go to work?
He had his house was in walking distance to that, which is like literally like 30 seconds, like it gets to the house.
Interesting. Okay.
And he tried one business. The business almost kicked him out. Like the kid just wanted to ride to work.
I don't think I would have given him a ride either, just because it's a tad, like I understand it wasn't, but it, like in that moment, it probably seemed like it was a tad sketchy at first.
And that's my initial reaction was, I can't do it. Obviously, I'm not putting a stranger in my car. And I think to myself, I'm like, wow, I'm putting a stranger in another stranger's car.
Yeah, like balances out the strangeness.
Yeah. And so I talked to him long enough, and, I kind of said, "You're not going to make me regret this decision in helping you, right?" And he goes, No. He's like, I promise. Like, I got my working papers, all that stuff. And I'm like, all right, cool.
How'd you hit him?
So my good deed for the end of the week resulted in giving another kid a ride to his job that he's only been there 3 times. So
how'd you hit him?
Consistently. I was thinking my wedge was now onto the positive shit. My wedge was doing well. I did drive a good couple 2-tree balls. I was expecting, because I've only done the simulator, that it was going to totally mess up everything. I thought I did okay.
It's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
And then my last short one is that obviously I said that I'm changing jobs. I had to notify a group of individuals that I was working with that I obviously will no longer be working after a certain amount of time. And so, I said, after this date, please contact so-and-so, as they'd be happy to assist. This is 2 days after the date that I have mentioned. And somebody emailed me and would like assistance in a certain action or a certain task, and replied to the email that I sent out and saying, my last day will be this. After this date, please contact this person. But they still sent an email. They still replied to the email that I sent that out, wanting help.
That was the first acknowledgement of the email?
Not even an acknowledge. Did not even mention, so sorry you're leaving. Wish you the best of luck. They just, since that was their correspondence, my latest correspondence, they're like, oh, it'll just help us out. Well, you replied an email. It just goes to show that down in the dumps portion of it, it just goes to show the lack thereof of awareness in reading an email.
Happens to everybody. I think everybody at some point is a victim of email negligence.
Yeah. Now, what I will mention is he's a repeat offender. He has not read any of my emails to the point where I had to corner him in a space of his at the workplace. No, I did not go to his house, but I had to corner him in a specific spot of the workplace to be like, you're not responding to my emails. Now I'm coming after you. Now, I didn't say it that way, but
Jack Johnson, Tom O'Leary right here waiting for you.
Obviously, he got defensive when I got to that point, which is totally understandable. But I think I said, if you replied to the email that I sent you 3 times, we wouldn't have gotten here. But yeah, just the idea of like some people just don't read emails. And sometimes it could be really detrimental to your judge of character and how you present yourself, especially in a situation like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, reading emails is really not that hard. All right, I have 4.
4?
Yeah.
4?
Number 1. So my parents did cut their cable. What I didn't think of is the cable that they had, I was able to use like an online login to get certain access to certain things. And now I don't have it for the March Madness app. So that sucks.
No wonder why my login wasn't working.
Yeah, that also, that kind of sucks for you too. That's kind of like a double down in the dumps, honestly. Speaking of golf, I golfed great this past weekend.
Okay.
The issue was other than coming within 3 feet of a hole in one, not to brag, but I bragged. So I didn't tell you this part.
Okay.
So my PR is at 96. My goal was to shoot under 100. I was at 42 through 8 holes. I was like, all right, doing pretty good. I had a par 5 on hole 9, made an 8. So I finished with the 50 on the front. I was like, all right, let's just try to shoot under 100. I'm sitting at a 90 through 17 holes. All I have to do is bogey 18, and I got a new PR, right? Short little dog leg left. So I pull up my 5-iron off the tee. One of the straightest balls I hit in my life. Right to the edge of the fairway. I'm like, all right. So now I'm at like 160, straight shot to the green, downhill, pull out my 9-iron, topped it. Went like 30, 40 yards. I was like, all right. So this is my 3rd shot. Get on the green and 2-putt for bogey. Topped it again. Shit. All right. So now I got like a 90 yards on my 4th shot. I'm like, I don't have a chance. I hit the most beautiful pitch within like 6 feet of the cup. So now if I make this putt, I get a new PR. It lipped out.
Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah. That was tough. That was really tough.
Did you beat out who shall not be named?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes. What else do I have? Oh, yeah. I'm supposed to have a fantasy baseball draft in 20 minutes.
Oh.
I haven't done fantasy baseball in like 10 years.
Oh, gosh.
And so I was asked to do the fantasy baseball league by our good friend Jake. And I said yes because one, I've stopped paying attention to like other teams and players in baseball, and I don't know a lot of people anymore. So it's a good way to keep up. But yeah, I'm no idea what I'm doing.
Well, good luck with that.
And then finally, this is something that's happened to me a few times the past couple of months. Happened to me last week. You know what's the worst?
Having diarrhea.
That is Sometimes, yes. When you have an alarm for 7 a.m. and you wake up at 6:58.
Oh,
That's the absolute worst. Like, I would rather wake up at 2:30 in the morning, look at my phone and be like, nice, I got like 4 hours left. But when you wake up like 2 minutes before your alarm, you're like, well, that just ruined my whole day.
What's your threshold to like, I'll lay back down and I'll fall back asleep?
Like a half hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say 15 minutes, but sometimes I push that.
Yeah, I mean, it depends how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
But
Sometimes I'll lay in bed. Like if it's like, I wake up at 6 o'clock. And so like if it's 5:45, like I'll just lay in bed. Like I'll still be awake, but I'll just lay in bed. But if it, 5:58, that sucks.
Yeah, no, it's brutal. And I can't really tell you why, because it's only like 2 minutes away. But it just like, I don't know, it just puts me in a bad mood every time it happens.
I think it's you are expecting an alarm to go off and you beat your alarm.
Yeah, it just sucks. But that's all I got.
Time to set those alarm clocks, because that concludes another episode of the Funny Business Podcast. Again, we do every Friday. So be sure to tune in if you make it this far to the podcast. For those who are returning, thank you. Welcome back. We hope you enjoyed your stay. Rate us 5 stars because we need the 5-star rating, both as a driver and as a podcast. Anyway, find us all on our social media, Facebook, Instagram, the TikTok, Twitter X, YouTube, and our merch. You can find all that stuff at beacons.ai/funnybusinesspod. Mr. Matthew.
Yes.
What is your advice for the good people, the coworkers of the funny business world?
Do your taxes. Do your taxes. Tax season is upon us. Make sure you get your taxes done. April 15th will be here before you know it. Don't procrastinate. Get the H&R block early. Turbo tax? Turbo Max? What's it called? Turbo tax.
Whoever wants to sponsor us, man.
Yeah, honestly, that's... Well, my taxes are already done.
Yours are?
Yeah.
When
or if you
were they
have a
done?
local guy that, a friend that does taxes, just make sure you reach out now. This is your reminder. Or if you're too lazy to do it now, just file for the extension. Do it in October.
Yeah, got to do your taxes. You can't avoid tax fraud.
No, they will find you.
Or escape. What is it? Tax evasion?
Tax evasion. Yeah.
That's
Which tax evasion sounds a lot cooler than tax fraud. Yeah.
I evaded taxes.
Like, honestly, tax evasion kind of sounds appealing. I'm not going to do it. But it sounds a lot cooler than tax fraud. Like, tax fraud seems like it's bad. Tax evasion kind of seems badass.
Might around and evade some taxes, you know?
Yeah, listen. That guy knows what's up.
That guy's been a tax evader for the last 6 years. Yeah, do your taxes, especially when you're an adult and you have to do it on your own. That's when reality sets in.
Mm-hmm.
How much the government likes to take everything from you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, so do your taxes, be in good standing, be a good citizen of the United States.
Yeah, also, don't be mad if you don't get a big tax return, because that's actually what you want. Like, in reality, you don't want to get anything, you don't want to owe anything, because that means you're getting the maximum amount of money throughout the year.
Hand up. I got mad because I had a huge difference.
I'm also going to get mad. However, we shouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never owed anything in doing taxes my entire life, but
no, but it sucks. Well, I think last year I got something insanely small. I was like, what's the point of doing my taxes if I'm going to get $20?
Yeah, last year was 4 figures, and then this year I bumped down to 3, a low 3.
Oh,
it was awful.
I think I was 2 figures last year.
You were only 2? Oh, okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah. Once again, what's the point? Why do I have to do this?
All right. Just saying, the government can say you're responsible, even though we know everything about you.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
But yeah. So thanks so much for tuning in, and until the next time, we'll see you all in the next episode.
Stay safe, everyone.